Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Movie Pop, and today we're here to talk about Midsommar. It's directed by Ari Aster and is currently holding a fantastic 83% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, followed by a very disappointing and more accurately 63% audience score rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So let me tell you about my expectations for this film. I was not happy about having to go see this movie because it has a 2.5 hour runtime. But that's what we do for you here on Movie Pop. I'm not a horror guy either, so my expectations were rather low just because I don't like the genre. However, because it's produced by A24, I had some faith into it. So with that being said, Lawrence, what were your expectations going in?
Yeah, I just expected like a standard horror movie. I was kind of like you. I was like, oh, the runtime's so long. I'm not really looking forward to this at all. But yeah, I was expecting like from the trailer, I was expecting like a gory horror movie, kind of like standard, very generic experience. I feel like I was surprised. I'm not sure if it was pleasantly, but yeah, I feel like the trailer doesn't really represent the movie that well. And I feel like the trailer kind of shows only maybe some of the best scenes. I don't know. Expectations were mixed. I'll just leave it at that. So
Yeah.
let's just jump right into some pros and cons. Why don't you go ahead and first and just tell me what you liked, what you hated.
All right. Yeah. First off, I mean, this film is beautifully shot. You have some very
Agreed.
interesting camera angles and movements, and some that mirror one of my favorite horror films of all time, The Shining. The color correction, all that stuff. It's gorgeous to look at. So I think that really helps with the runtime. I really appreciated also the score for the movie. A lot of the times, the score is something that's dubbed over the scenes. But this film did not only that, but they also had actual characters in the movie like playing the flute or something, out where they're at.
Yeah.
And it kind of blended into the score, and you couldn't tell like which was an overdub or which was
Right.
part of like actually happening. That was really cool and
Yeah.
really unique, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciated that it was also a very character focused film. So we spent a lot of time with the two main protagonists and their friends. I'm really getting invested into their world before we're sent into where they go into Sweden. With that being said, though, I'm going to have to say there are some cons that I think really kind of outweigh the pros. This film, God, it's way too overindulgent with the runtime. It's 2.5 hours long. I felt like the same story could have been told with a very concise 1.5 hour runtime.
This isn't like an Avengers movie. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, seriously. It's not like you have to break down a bunch of like lore and backstory and tie it into all these other things. It's one self-contained story.
Right.
Ugh. And that's fine. Like, if it didn't have enough backstory, then I was gonna say my other con would be, this is not really a horror film. It was marketed as such, so
Yeah.
it's fine. Like, I felt like it was lacking a lot of horror. But then, like, if it would have had like more backstory to add to the runtime, then that's fine. If they're gonna cut the horror out, but
Yeah.
I felt like it had less horror and less like backstory than I wanted. So those are my cons. What about
Okay.
you, man?
One of my biggest pros is one that you said yourself. I thought, the cinematography was fantastic. When they go to Sweden, I was just like, wow, that's some really good stuff. Even where they're at, even where the movie takes place, is such a nice, big green areas. I was like, and I didn't really think going into the movie that I would expect that. Actually, throughout the whole movie, even the beginning, cinematography is actually pretty fantastic. Just like when the movie opens, they show like all these shots of. Like it's like in the middle of the forest in winter, and then it shows like all these houses covered in snow. It's just really nice. A lot of good scenes, a lot of good cinematography. The movie, one thing I wasn't expecting is it's very cerebral, very like kind of gets in your head, gets under your skin. It's not very like gory. So it was kind of, I like the way they did that. I like how it was like, there's some scenes where they're like on drugs, and it makes you feel like you are also on drugs, and you get to see from their eyes what they're experiencing. Thought that was kind of cool.
I can verify that is a very accurate description, mind you.
Yeah, I knew you'd like those scenes. No, but yeah, it was cool. Like, there's not a lot of movies that do that. They're just kind of like, they're on drugs, and you just take our word for it. We're not going to show you what it's like for them. But yeah, this movie, like, it does some trippy stuff. There's some pretty trippy scenes. But those are really all my pros I have for the movie. Some of my cons is, like you said, the movie was painfully long. Like, I wouldn't have minded it being long if it like made sense, but like the story just like it really just drags its feet. Like, there's just a lot of stuff, and like, oh, it's just brutal. It's so freaking long, some scenes. And, you know, there's parts of the plot where it goes at like a snail's pace, and it's just brutal. Many of the scenes, although they make sense, like towards the end, like towards the conclusion of the story, this is another one of my cons. While they make a lot of sense, I feel like if you miss out on key details, like there's scenes where they show you like a small shot of something. If you miss like some of those key details, like some scenes just won't even really make sense. Didn't really like that either. It's like there's certain scenes where they'll just pan over stuff, and it's just like at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, that's all explained. So it's really easy to miss details in the movie, and I didn't like that because I had to kind of like think about it after. But yeah, those are pretty much my pros and cons. Why don't we just go ahead and give our final scores? DJ, go ahead.
Cool, man. It's weird trying to make a score for this film because just watching it and seeing the dialogue and seeing the story and the narrative, I got a sense that it's so densely textured with a lot of like mythology from Norway.
Yeah.
And I felt like there's probably a lot in the film that I'm totally missing just because I'm like just not inclined to know about like this cultural mythology.
Yeah.
So I have to say, like, my score is purely going to be based off a viewing experience, not knowing anything about all the wonderful work I'm sure the actors and directors have put in to this project. I'm going to give it I'm going to say like a B-, which would be like 2.5 bags of popcorn.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to go for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the movie the idea isn't terrible. It kind of falters on the execution. There's some scenes that are just, you know, it being slow and some parts not being perfectly thought out, and like just a little bit of confusion mixed in there. It just kind of chaotic, you know. So yeah, I think a 2.5 for me as well. I'm glad we're on the same page. I was actually thinking that before we even shot, I was like, this is a solid 2.5. So I think that's gonna do it for us, DJ.
Yeah. Let me ask you then. I mean, would you recommend that anybody go out, spend their money, and see this movie?
Nah, you can definitely wait to rent this one. This isn't like a huge you have to watch film by any means. Go out and watch like Spider-Man or something much better.
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a bad film by any means, but it's not worth your time going out there to see
it just kind of misses the mark, you know. I get what they're going for, and I appreciate it, but it's just not quite there.
Right. All right, guys. Well, there you go. You have it from both of us. A solid 2.5 bags of popcorn rating for Midsommar. Hey, listen, if you want to find more awesome movie reviews, trailer reactions, make sure to follow us on social media, on Instagram at MoviePopOfficial, on Facebook at MoviePopOfficial, and of course on Twitter at RealMoviePop.
And as always, guys, you know, thank you so much for your support. We want to hear from you guys. Just talk to us. We do this for you. You know, we love movies, and we want to share our passion with everyone else. So any support you give us is greatly appreciated. And always, thank you so much for watching.